Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're excited that you're here with us on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we are happy to have a very special guest. Today, we have one of our members, and we've been doing some things to spotlight members in our membership for the business owners and entrepreneurs, inventors. We've done a Moments with Red series before, and today we're going to do a Moment with Red series on the legacy side, and we'll be having different people come from time to time to speak. And today, our very first one is David Garcia, and I am so excited not just to present him, but to know him. He is such an awesome person, and he has a rich value that he adds to our membership, and the way that he serves people in general is just so amazing. And I told him that I'm going to give him all the time today. I could talk a lot about legacy and what it's meant for us in our lives, but because of some of the things that I have been able to share with David, I have to tell this quick little story. You know, he's given back to us in such a very powerful way, and he doesn't even realize it, I'm sure, some of the things that he's added and the value that he's added to us. But I had the expressed opportunity to present with David in a summit earlier this month, and a financial summit. And it was just an amazing experience to hear him talk about his story and what he's experienced and how he's now protecting his family and his business as an asset and not a liability, and adding value, to his own company and to the companies that are the people he serves, own. And so one of the earlier stories that I had when I first met David, I met him through another colleague of ours who was like a son to me. And he said, I need you to talk to this guy. He is such an amazing, amazing person. And he started telling me about David and David's life and what he was doing. And I was like, wow, yes, I absolutely want to talk to him. And so I'm sitting in, this is when I was just getting my MBA. So this is a few years ago now. I was sitting there at the school with my computer and getting prepared for class. And David, had a meeting with me, and he comes on the line and he starts telling me about all the things he's doing to take care of his family. And the one thing that he said that impressed me so much, he said, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm not able to spend the time with them that I'd like. And that it was like this, time to him was as much protection as the money, as anything else. And so that just led me to this whole other thing. I just started saying, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? I mean, I just jumped all in to try to see what I could do to add value, because he has an amazing family, a lot of kids, they homeschool, there's all this stuff that he's doing, and he was having a difficult time finding time to make sure that the most important thing that he would never be able to get back, which is time with his kids, was taken care of. And he did it. I mean, it wasn't that year, but I mean, the next year, I mean, he came out like gangbusters. It was like, okay, I'm shutting stuff down over here. I'm not going to do this anymore. And this is what I'm going to focus on, because I need to be with my kids and I need to spend time with my wife. And I was like, wow, and at such a young age for him to make that kind of discovery and then to do something about it that was lasting. I mean, I tell you, it was just an amazing thing to see. And so with that said, I'll let him tell you everything else about how that, went from point A to point B to where he is now. But I just had to share that because it was such an amazing thing that impressed me from the beginning. And it made me want to serve him more, because I felt like he was moving with fire on his heels to connect with his family and to bring things into a really a position that would be a lasting journey, so something sustainable, not something that he could do for one time and say, okay, we went to Disneyland. I mean, he made some actionable steps to change things in his household that, his children will be able to tell us all about later. Well, with that said, I want to present David Garcia from Policies with a Purpose, and who, he'll tell you all about those things that he's doing in life, and have a dad, a husband, an amazing speaker, and just an amazing businessman, and a person who loves God, and that's really important. So, with that said, David, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Patience. I really appreciate the introduction and appreciate all the guidance and direction you brought myself, you brought my family. I've had a lot of leaders, mentors around me throughout my career in business and everything, but you've really brought a whole different perspective on the direction I want to take my family, my business, and you mentioned my time. Like you and others around me always told me, hey, you have to get out of that previous business because it was taking up all your time. And I heard them, but I didn't really feel them until my 7-year-old son was like, Dad, why did you choose a job that you have to work every single night? And it hit me like, what am I really teaching my kids? If the only outcome was income, like what am I still doing here? If I'm not really adding value to anybody but making more money to provide for the family, like I need to find a different outlet. I need to find a different purpose so I can, lead my kids and family and myself the right way. So I appreciate you, along with all of the mentors that have been a part of this journey, has really helped me get out of the rat race and um, I have a business where the business ran me, and now I'm learning how to be a business owner and leverage systems, leverage and work with people, and really start to create more time and make time that we never had before. So just want to get that off my chest. Patience, appreciate you and Howard a lot for guiding me along this process as well too. So let me pull up my screen right here. So my name is David Garcia. My brand is Policies with a Purpose. I've been a licensed agent now for about 5 years. And again, my goal when talking with any family, with any individual, any business owner, to help you find a purpose with your policy. Okay, what I've learned a lot when talking with a lot of other families and individuals is some may already have protection, some may already have a policy, but they don't have a purpose behind that policy. So they don't even know what company they have it with. They don't know what size of policy they have. They just know they have a monthly premium and they don't even know much about their premium other than it's due on the 14th. Right. So my goal is to show you, help you understand what your purpose is with your policy. And if you don't have one, well, let's find one and get to one together. Right? And I really don't feel and a lot of the reason is because a lot of life insurance agents will talk about the death benefit of a policy. And I agree that that's the main purpose of a policy is a death benefit. But if we think about a policy like a telephone, cell phone or telephones have transitioned a lot over the last few decades, right? Excuse me. The main purpose of a phone when it was first invented was to communicate and talk on. But if we think about now, we hardly ever talk on the phone. Well, there's so many different features we use on the phone before we even make a phone call. Some of you guys may be even watching me on a cell phone right now, right? And that's the same purpose with a policy, where the main purpose is the death benefit, but there's so many features that are open and available to you to help you utilize that policy before you actually use the death benefit. Okay, and not all policies are created equal. There's several different policies out there, so that's where I take clients from exposure to exposure to help them understand what a policy can do for them and help them customize a policy to fit their goals, to fit their situation, to fit their family. And so with the focus being on just the death benefit, a lot of times, families aren't able to find that purpose because they have to focus on the day-to-day priorities. Excuse me, the day-to-day priorities where they may be spending hundreds of dollars every single month on Jordans and their kids don't even wear the same shoe size. Or maybe they're spending hundreds of dollars every single month on clothes and they don't even have the same style of their kids. Like, what do they want to pass down to their family? What kind of legacy do they want to leave behind? So we don't just talk about death benefit. We talk about legacy. We talk about how to utilize a policy so it's paying you or you are utilizing your policy every single year throughout your lifetime, the way a policy should be used. And then when it's our time, it's going to bless our beneficiaries tax free. Okay. So please take as many notes as you guys have. If you guys currently have a policy, there's always ways to review it, see what's changed out there in the industry to see how it compares to the policy you currently have, or maybe the policy you currently have is outdated where it doesn't fit your overall goals. I talked to a client yesterday who said, hey, I don't think I need another policy. My mom got me one when I was actually a teenager. And I shared with her, hey, that's great. You have that protection, but that your goals have changed since being a teenager. You're in your mid 20s now. Let's revisit it. Let's see if you can do the same things you want to do with that policy. Make sure that policy aligns with your overall goals that you want to do with investing, with financing, and the protection of your new family. Okay, so understand you should have a purpose behind your policy. And if you don't have one, we can find one together, guys. So I always want to talk about PMI first because a lot of times people, when they purchase a property, one of the first conversations is how, hey, what kind of down payment do you want to have? Because you put X amount of dollars on this property, you can get rid of your PMI. And me, when I bought my first property, I thought PMI was protecting myself, right? Property mortgage insurance, what it does is protect the lender, not the borrower. So if something happens to you in your lifetime, the lender gets paid off, but you're still stuck with that overall debt, or your family is still stuck with that overall debt. Okay. So what I like to do is talk about if you have a mortgage or if you plan to get a mortgage, right? Let's figure out a policy that can protect your mortgage in the event of a life event or death event. Okay, so that way you have that debt, that mortgage protected, and you don't have to leave the family behind with a huge financial burden. Or what happens if you can't go to work anymore, and that job takes you away from earning an income? How are you going to continue to pay for that mortgage? Okay, that's where I want to help you customize a plan to help that policy supplement your income so you can take care of your debts, your mortgage, your payments, and continue living the lifestyle you're used to living. Okay, so that's what PMI is, guys. PMI is not there to protect you, but is mandatory unless you pay off. I believe I'm not a mortgage expert, but I believe you have to pay off at least 20% of your loan for you to drop the PMI and get rid of that monthly payment. Okay, so traditional life insurance. Again, there's three forms of life, or the two forms of life insurance. There's term and there's permanent. Term is just like renting a house. You can own a policy or pay for a policy for a set amount of years. Like when you rent a house, you can rent a policy for 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30 years, and all you're doing is paying for the cost of insurance. So it's a lot more affordable than your permanent policies because the permanent policies, not only are you paying for cost of insurance, but they package it with a cash value. So part of your premium just means paying for cost of insurance and also your cash value. Okay. And along with the permanent insurance, there's actually two kinds of permanent life insurance. There's whole life insurance and universal life insurance. And we'll get into a little deeper comparing the two in just a minute. Okay, but a lot of people confuse all permanent policies is whole life. So that's why I want to just get it out there where permanent policies, you actually have an option to choose whole life or universal life if you have the right company. Okay, so again, traditional life insurance, protecting your income with the death benefit. Okay, so if something were to happen to me, I want to make sure my family's taken care of financially. That way, I don't leave down a huge financial burden. And this question or that topic right there is actually what led us to looking for life insurance. All right. How many of you guys, type of one in the chat, have ever, grew up or had no direction with life insurance growing up because it was never a topic in your household? Because that was us, right? We didn't know who to turn to for life insurance. My family never had a policy other than the one that work provided, and I was self-employed at the time, so there was no job to issue us a policy or protect us with that life insurance policy. So we had to go out shopping and marketing and looking for a policy. And ironically, I always talked about life insurance is the bet that I can't cash out on because I always understood life insurance as just a death benefit for the family. Okay. And again, as I learned more about the industry, I realized life insurance is a whole lot more than just a death benefit. But that's what actually led us to looking for life insurance because I was the main provider for the family. I wanted to make sure if something were to happen, the family's taken care of. Right, I was driving around doing newspaper distribution at the time on the road, 10 hours a night, 7 nights a week. Anytime anything could have happened. So thankfully we got a policy when we did, because shortly after life happened, which I'll explain in just a minute. But a lot of people, when they think about getting a traditional life insurance policy, they think about a term or permanent policy to protect their mortgage. Because a lot of times we get a 30-year mortgage, so we want to make sure we protect that mortgage with a 30-year term policy. But how often do we keep just one mortgage in a lifetime? A lot of us barely even stay in one house in a lifetime, whether we sell a house and get a new property or we refinance and start a whole new 30-year loan. So if we renew our loan, our mortgage, but we don't renew that 30-year term, we're not that mortgage is not going to be protected for 30 years. This is why I feel getting a permanent policy to protect whatever debts, whatever income, whatever mortgage you get throughout your lifetime is more beneficial, but also learning how to customize the policy to not only protect your mortgage, but what if we can customize that policy to pay off your mortgage in the next 20, 25 years? Okay, that's one of the best ways of using a policy is leveraging the money you're saving into it so you can take care of other financial decisions. Okay. Okay, so this is what really changed in the industry over the last few decades, and this is what led me to being an insurance agent. Okay, because 4 months after I got my life insurance policy, I got into a car accident. Right, life happened. Didn't plan for it. Never did I in my life have I broken a bone, had a major injury, had a major illness. I was very healthy, but again, life happened, and I was driving home from work on the freeway, and traffic came to a complete stop, and I rear-ended the car in front of me, where I fractured my pelvis, dislocated my femur, and recovery was going to be about 7 months. Now imagine if you couldn't go to work for 7 months and you're the main provider for the household, how would that affect your household financially? Right? Health insurance took care of all the medical bills. Auto insurance took care of the car accident. But how many of us have something to protect our income? Right? Thankfully, we went looking for life insurance when we did, because if we didn't have life insurance with the right living benefits, who knows how this predicament could have played out. So even though we had a policy for 4 months, the company we were partnered with that we had our insurance through actually issued us a check for $60,000 tax free because I qualified for what's called a chronic illness rider, where I wasn't able to do 2 out of the 6 daily living activities for a 90-day period. And they paid us out an early acceleration of a portion of our death benefit tax free. I was able to pay off all of our bills, didn't have to stress about finances, and was able to use the rest of it to buy a brand new property, which that was our main goal before the accident. Right? Imagine if I didn't have living benefits, if we were saving for that property, all of a sudden I can't go to work anymore. Now we have to dip into that savings, deplete it to, continue living our lifestyle, pay off our debts and everything. And now we can't buy the new property before our fourth kid was born. Right? What living benefits did for us is provide options. We didn't need to use them, but we needed to use them in that time of need because we wanted to make sure our income was protected. Right? And then it was only 4 months into my policy, and the company still paid us out $60,000 tax free. And we used the remaining of the money that we had left to purchase a brand new property that our fourth baby girl or daughter or fourth child was born in 2 months after we moved into it. So now we're stuck here. We can't move. She was born on the bathroom floor, and it was the most amazing experience of our life. But this is what's changed in the industry, guys. Living benefits, having life insurance, you no longer have to die to use, right? Protecting your income with the death benefit in life. And the company we're partnered with is actually the creators of living benefits, which means they specialize it and are the only companies who offers 4 living benefit riders for no additional cost. Okay, and within the next week, they're actually adding their fifth and sixth living benefit rider, and all of them come for no additional cost. Right? This is what allows the company to stay innovative. They stay ahead of the market and always bring in new products and adding more value to their clients. So we have terminal illness, chronic illness, which is very similar to long-term care or a temporary or permanent disability. Similar, but not the same. Okay, if you cannot do 2 out of the 6 daily living activities for a 90-day period, that's what helps you qualify for that rider or the payout or living benefit claim. Okay, and then heart attack, stroke, cancer are some of the other common triggers on here for the critical illness, critical injury rider. And those illnesses are becoming more common nowadays. And just because someone suffers a critical illness doesn't mean they're going to pass away right away. Right? Medicine, technology has evolved, which has helped people beat cancer or survive a heart attack or a stroke. But the biggest hit they take is financially, because when they suffer these illnesses, they have to take time away from work. So their income drops. And then they spend time in recovery. So bills start to pile up. And a lot of times people turn to a GoFundMe account. And in my experience, I've never seen a GoFundMe account reach their fully financial goals. So again, what Living Benefits does is now give you the option to accelerate your death benefit in life tax-free up to $1.5 million of your death benefit. And if you don't need to use your living benefits, no worry, because there's no cost to them. They're just there as an added feature. Okay, so what happens with all your premiums or contributions, depending how it's customized, you have cash value that's building in your policy. Okay, so here's a chart about how 2 ways that money works for us or grows for us. Okay, our focus is going to be on the blue line and the gold line. All right, a lot of us save into a 401k, traditional savings account, or traditional IRA, where it moves like the blue line, which is called variable. High rate of return some years, as you see here, but also high risk, like on the major events, right? A couple years ago, people lost 20% in their 401ks. And the best part is we understand the market will correct itself. The market will climb back up. They'll make their money back that they lost. But the biggest challenge is they have to spend years making up for previous year's losses. So now they're losing not just money, but time. Okay, the goal line here is what's called indexing. This is what our company specializes in, index strategies where you have a 0% floor. So what that means is you allow your money to grow with the market, but as the market dips, you plateau. You lock in your gains, you lock in your contribution, never losing a dollar. And as the market climbs again, you mirror the market. And when the market dips, you plateau. Because you have that 0% floor, your money is able to compound every single year. We're able to outperform the market long term, right? So I'm not here to tell you there's a good and bad strategy. I'm here to say, what do you see more value in? What's in more alignment with your overall goals? Would you rather be riskier with your money? Would you rather not lose your money? Whatever your goal is, I can help you customize a plan to fit that and show you different ways to utilize your policy in different ways for your finances. Okay. And also with your 401k, traditional IRAs, as you're saving into it, you're deferring your taxes. But also when you access it for retirement, you're going to have to pay taxes in retirement for the rest of your life as you're receiving money. Okay. As you're saving into an IUL, which stands for Index Universal Life Insurance, you're saving into the plan to create a tax-free retirement. Okay. How many of us are tired of paying taxes already? Right? We have income tax, then we go buy something, we have sales tax, right? So there's taxes we can't get away from it. What we can do is learn how to reduce our taxable income the right way. And also saving into these plans like an IUL will help you create the tax-free income for the rest of your life when you get into retirement age. Right? So again, as you're saving into the policies, different ways to customize it, different ways to structure a policy. And one of my ways is utilizing a policy to be like your own bank. Okay. We all use a bank, right? That's the first place our money goes when we get paid. Okay. And as we make money, give an example of somebody making $80,000 a year. Okay. Expenses, $60,000 a year. Every time any of us spend money, we give it away. We give it away, then we have to recreate again by working or investing. Okay, so let's say this individual makes $80,000 a year, spends 80,000 or $60,000 a year, and has $20,000 left over to save. Okay, let's say this person puts it into an IRA and makes 10%, about $2,000, not talking about fees or taxes. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to capitalize on your full income to give you a chance to get a return on your full revenue. Whether you're a business owner, whether you're a W-2 employee, right? Customizing a plan so you can get a return on this full revenue, whatever comes into your bank. Okay, so what that looks like is this example here, right? Because before we spend money, we want to make sure we protect that income. We want to make sure we keep all that so when we spend it, we're not giving it away. So here example is when you become a bank, which means we're going to look at our policy like a bank. So as we make money, we're going to put all of it into our policy to allow it to grow, compound, and accumulate money for us. And so we don't deplete this asset here. We're not going to withdraw it because if we withdraw it, we take it away. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the money away from the line of credit that we created in our policy. Okay, we're going through the same steps. We have income, put in the policy. We take out our living expenses, $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. We take it out from the line of credit, which we're creating debt in the policy. Now, loans in a policy are very unique. It's the only loan that I'm aware of that does not have a scheduled payment plan to pay back. Also, every loan you borrow from your policy is tied to your death benefit, meaning when we pass away, whatever outstanding loans and interest that we've accumulated in the policy, the death benefit will take care of and pay off before paying our beneficiaries tax-free. Okay, so I don't want you guys thinking that, wait, does that mean I'm gonna deplete my death benefit and pass down $100? No, I structure your policy the right way. So as you contribute to your policy, it's growing and building. That way, when you pass away, your death benefit doesn't fall below the original applied amount. Okay. But same thing, as we're pulling out that $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month to fund our cost of living, bills, expenses, lifestyle, we do it from the line of credit, which is the loan interest of averaging 4%. And we're still left with $20,000 in savings. Okay. And by doing that, we allow us to get a full return on the $80,000 we made. And that keeps compounding and growing for us every year. So even though we created debt, 11 minus 4, we're still averaging 7% on every dollar that we spend from our policy. Okay. Now, which would you guys rather have? 7% on money you spent or 10% on what's left over? The most amazing part is, guys, you can actually do both because even though you put $80,000 in your policy, you only pulled out 60,000, which means there's still $20,000 in your policy you can pull back out and invest in other areas like real estate, like a self-directed IRA, stocks, crypto, whatever your goal is, you can actually pull more money out to invest in another vehicle, and that way your money's growing and building in both places. Okay. Now, this strategy is very unique. It takes several calls to understand the basics of it, how the mechanics work of the policy. So don't worry if you don't understand and take it all in right now. It definitely takes about 2 to 3, calls to have a better understanding of how this policy can work for you. Okay. But where patience brought a lot of value into my life and my businesses, operating as a business, but also implementing all the trust structures that she's been teaching us. Okay, this is where the concept comes in, but where we own nothing but control everything. Okay, so this was my original trust structure, and I always like to revisit it with her to make sure we don't need to change anything, or if we do, that way I can learn different ways to utilize all of our trusts and LLCs and whatnot. So she actually helped me move my businesses into an LLC. Okay, so she can help show you how your trust structure can help you benefit your business. So as my LLC receives income, I am 5% owner within my LLC, and the rest of my LLC is owned by my business trust. Okay, so let's say, to make math easy, let's say I make $100,000 gross for the year. So if I make $100,000 gross, comes into my LLC, 95,000 now gets dispersed into my business trust. And now a lot of people will have expenses from their LLC and business trust. Me, I want to operate like a bank with my policies. So before I spend any dollar, I want to make sure everything goes through my policy just like it does with my bank. So before I spend anything, I'm distributing everything I make or everything that comes into my business trust into my family trust. So now it reduces my taxable income from my business trust down to zero, and it all sits in my family trust. And again, some people may have expenses here to reduce their taxable income. What I do is what patients taught me, that a trust can reduce the taxable income into anything that has beneficial interest or insurable interest to people of the trust. So because I structure my policy like a bank, is big enough to fit that $95,000 income my family trust received. So that $95,000 can get dumped into my policy because I structured it like a bank, and then I can pull money from it tax-free to fund our lifestyle. So even though we made $100,000 for the year, we're only responsible paying taxes on the $5,000 since I'm 5% owner of this LLC. Okay, so all these are just bank accounts. LLC is a bank account, business trust is a bank account, family trust are bank accounts, but also my policy, structuring it like a bank, has allowed my policy to be more liquid for me to use and move, uh, contribute money to, and also pull money out of it as well too. Right, this is where we always hear the family bank, right? What the Rockefellers do, they buy all these life insurance policies on their kids, generations, grandkids, but they all operate with a family bank, and that's basically what we created here. But the missing pieces I had before was the trust, the business trust, the family trust. But this is how I've actually created more purpose for our policies now, because my trust owns everything and funds everything now. Okay, so this is what patience has brought to us as far as bringing more value to us, helping us understand how to reduce our liability by moving everything to an LLC, but also reducing ownership by moving everything into our trusts. I seen you pop on there, Patience. I thought you were going to say something, but yeah, that's my time. I want to leave time for any Q&As, guys. Feel free to unmute yourself if that's okay, Patience, or if you'd like for them to raise their hands. I'm open for any questions.
Please unmute yourself if you have a question. But I wanted to
bring up really quickly and ask this question, David. So, in your estimation, I know this is what your structure is, and your structure was specifically designed for you and the way that
Correct.
you run your business, the type of business you have, and of course, the way that your family is constructed and what it is that the family maintenance requires, your beneficiaries' needs, and all of those things were brought into focus. And based on that, this is the structure that is set up for you. But in your estimation, because I know you've been working with other clients that have sometimes a little bit different structure based on their needs, how easy is this to manage? Because I know that that has been a question for a lot of people, as they are structuring things with their finances and creating more financial capacity. One of the things that I found is that many people, they think that there's a one size fits all kind of process. So talk to us a little bit about what that could be like for a person and why it's important for them to work with a professional as they're setting this up, with their life insurance, and just kind of share
Yep.
that with us.
Yep. So it's a lot more simpler than people um, make it out to be. I think the biggest challenge is understanding the policy because we have a understanding of a policy as just a life insurance death benefit policy because we have auto insurance, home insurance, right? We have our insurance on our phone, where all these are just a bill. There's not much value behind them other than protection. So understanding life insurance is more than just a bill, is where we first start the conversation and just understanding how the mechanics work behind a policy. But like you said, every policy is customized, just like every trust structure, every business is structured and customized to the individual, right? And so they can start accessing money from their policy within the first year. Most take within the first 2 to 3 years, all depending on how it's customized, what the client has. Because my biggest goal is to help people reallocate money they already have saved or reallocate money they're already putting in other places that's not sitting in alignment with their overall goals.
So basically, what you're telling me is that I'm already. This reminds me of when I used to sell Amway. I mean, which we do. We're still Amway distributors, but I remember, when I was just new, 18 years old, jumped into, a multi-level marketing company, and one of my biggest ways that I grew my organization is by getting people to understand that they could get paid to use the money they were already using. Okay. Uh, to purchase items, they're consumables, right? So I had people at that time, Amway had in their catalog where you could buy a case of toilet paper, you could buy, a case of paper towels, along with your soaps and all of the things that you used, for your personal hygiene, but then of course your laundry soap and all of this stuff. And I, got people to sit there. I want you to add up your budget. And this was something that no one that it was in my circle had done before. I said, we're going to have a work day. We're going to add up our budget. We're going to talk about bring your grocery bill, bring your receipts, bring everything, because we're going to sit there and figure out how much money we spend at the grocery store. And then we're going to talk about how to get paid to use, the money that we spend on our consumables, to get us some money back, And so in that particular context, I grew an organization to like 30 people because we just decided that we were just going to get paid on our daily use or, monthly use items, for our families. And eventually what happened is we started bringing in other people who was doing the same thing. And under that guise, we actually grew an organization to, 30 people. And I had downline based on that. Now, when I started looking at the concept of life insurance, and thinking about the fact that I have money that I have to use anyway, money that's going into the bank, money that's going all these places, and learning how to take those funds and put them in a policy, and then understanding the concept of instead of me going to Bank of America to get a credit line, I could become my own credit line based on what I did with my policies. That changed a lot for me because it gave me a different perspective on what is, real. I'm paying somebody else interest to use their money, and I can pay myself okay, to use my
Yeah.
money in an account that's 125% bonded, except instead of being 80%, insured. I think this is the way I want to go. So talk to us a little bit about that concept, of really establishing for your family something that, is a more powerful move in terms of the perspective, even from your children, to understand, hey, we have our own, reserve accounts. We have our own ways that we handle money within our family. Just share a
Yep.
little bit
Yep.
about that.
Yeah. Before I get to that, like you said, some people don't like the idea or concept of borrowing because we don't like debt. Growing up, being raised middle class, working class, we don't like debt. We don't like credit cards. We like cash money because we have never had it before. So if we never had it before, we want to keep it all to ourselves. We don't want to, invest it and give it away because we might not get it back. All right. So that's where the biggest thing that came from me was shifting my mindset to an abundance mindset, but also understanding how to leverage my money. So when I speak to my clients, I don't speak to them about loans all the time. I want to show you how to leverage your money so your money's working in two different places. And that's basically what we're doing with the policy, right? Would you rather spend if you had $100 in the bank, would you rather use $50 of your own, and so it depletes your account, or would you rather leave the $100,000 growing in there and use $50,000 of the insurance money to go fund or spend on your expenses? All right, so that's where we kind of sit down and go over the numbers and what it looks like and everything. But yeah, I love it. Like it's been a common topic in our household. My sons actually see their policies like their piggy bank. Hey Dad, how much more do I have in my policy now? Right? They always talk about, here, Dad, here's my piggy bank. How much more can we put in our policy? I'm like, well, how much do you have? And so they give me their piggy
Mm-hmm.
bank, order their coins and everything, and we'll go to the bank to the bank. The main purpose of the bank, guys, B of A, Wells, all that, the main purpose of it is transactions, cash in our check, direct deposit, pay bills, wire money. So now you're going to create your own bank so you can start, building up your guys' nest egg for the family. So we go to the bank, put their money in there, then we transition it over to their policies where it's going to compound forever. And again,
Okay.
policies for kids, same goal as ours. We have money to use in the future for tax-free retirement, but we have a different goals for theirs where we can actually pull from if they go to private high school or maybe their first car or sports or college, but also still
Mm-hmm.
for that tax-free retirement. And if we think about the concept of the banking strategy, let's say I made $100,000 every year for the last 10 years, and I don't have $1 million working for me anymore. I've spent it, right? Every time I spend money, I give it away. But if I had this policy in place 10 years ago, and every year I made $100,000, right now I'd have $1 million still working for me,
Yeah.
right? And that's the power behind banking strategy, not giving away my money, protecting it, allowing it to grow, compound, and having a lot more options in the future.
Yeah. Tony Aranda has his hand raised. So, Tony, please ask your question or make your comment. I know this is resonating with you as well.
What's up, Tony?
Yeah,
Uh-oh, where'd he go?
Tony, we don't hear you. Come on.
this
There he
home you own, we have equity here in Silicon Valley. People borrow from their house all the time, but that interest rate you always pay back to the bank. I don't understand that part. So in this case, obviously we become that, and this is why I appreciate these policies and this concept. It really pays you back while you're using it, and your equity still continues to grow within your policy, just like your home does in real life. So great stuff, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Tony, you do bring up a really good point because I know when I had, a few houses, one of the things that, I never really thought about was that, yes, I would go and get a refinance, cash out refi, or, do a home equity line of credit, utilizing the equity in my home. And sometimes I had lots of equity. I talked about, a couple of times I talked about how in one of the houses I had $1 million worth of equity in the house, and so understanding, and again, I was using my trust. So my trust actually owned the house. Okay. I get that. And I was a tenant in common with the trust. I did all of those things right from my mentors who taught me. But the thing that I didn't realize is that when I was borrowing against that, the house, or taking the equity out of the house, Tony's right. I was paying back the bank. I wasn't paying myself back. And I had life insurance policies at the time. I had permanent policies, but I did not have the concept of being able to borrow against the permanent policies. And they were whole life, they weren't index universal life, but I still could have utilized them to create a reserve strategy. And instead of going to the house, I could have gone to the life insurance policies and paid myself back, which would have made a lot more sense. So I really do appreciate having the knowledge now. David, I mean, thank you for sharing this. We've got a few more minutes. I don't know if anyone else has a question, but but this is another question, and I've gotten this question from different people, and I know that you guys who are on here who are more astute in this area can answer it. David, I want to get your answer first, though. What about people that have policies that they got from their job or policies that they purchased way before now? How can they parlay those policies, or what can they do with those policies? Is there a way of reviewing those policies to see, what else could possibly happen?
Yeah, great question. So policies with your job, with the company you're employed with, is very similar to a term policy because you're only insured for a amount of years. Because once you leave that job, whether you quit or retire, most situations that policy does not follow you. And again, when you quit or retire 5 years down the road, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you're 5, 10, 15, 20 years older. And who knows where our health is going to be a decade down the road. So who knows if we'll still qualify. Okay, but also I've heard situations where a company's has a policy on an employee, and all of a sudden that employee has cancer. Most policies with the company are just a death benefit policy. But also now that the person has cancer, he no longer qualifies for that company's life insurance policy, and they'll kick him off the plan. Yeah, so there's situations that I've heard that people have gone through that. So I always recommend ownership, right? Don't get rid of the policy at work, but just look for something that you can own that has more value that you can actually utilize and use throughout your lifetime and has a lot more alignment with your overall goals, whether it's with finances, whether it's with investments, whether it's leaving a legacy, or whether it's learning the whole mechanics behind becoming your own bank with the policy.
This is such good stuff. Okay, so let me just say one more thing, and then we'll, see if there are any other questions, and if not, we will be done for today, guys. But David, we started in our family something that my husband and I had been desirous to do, for a while. We decided that the best gift we could give our grandkids is to purchase policies for them. So we're making our way around the grandkids. We've gotten 3 of them taken care of right now, and we're on our way to do 3 more. I mean, there's 9 of them, so we have to do this, but we, every 6 months or so, our plan is to add another 3 because until we get them all covered. And the concept here is to provide, not just, the ability for them to have their college paid, or because with that, we are definitely intentional about that. But, we want to make sure that we start a legacy, and, which is what today is all about, start a legacy of and in continuity in our family. And so inside of our trust, we have designed a way to take care of every grandchild. And this was one of those. What are your thoughts about that? And how do you see this type of thing becoming a thing, for other families?
I love it. I love it. And a lot of people say, well, that's what the wealthy do. So they don't even try entertaining the idea because they think only wealthy people can afford to do it. But I really think the wealthy people just have the information that guides them into understanding how they can do this for their family. And having a policy for your grandkids is amazing. That's again impacting generations to come, but also creating a place where you can save and grow money, but also leverage money throughout their lifetime. And whether you're the owner, whether the trust is the owner, you guys can still use the cash value to invest, to put more money in their policy, to build their college savings, to build their financial goals when they become an adult. What if they want to have a business? Well, now, grandma, grandpa has now set up a nest egg for them to utilize within their policy, for them for that goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the concepts that you talk about, and the separation of the thought process, because a lot of people do believe that it's only the wealthy that can do something like this. And we were really surprised to find out how inexpensive it is for us to divert our Starbucks money, okay, every month to taking care of our kids and our kids. Well, I should say our grandkids. My daughters bought me a Keurig, so I don't have to go to Starbucks anymore unless I just absolutely want to, because I have the ability to create my own drinks in my home and then take those funds that I was using for Starbucks and put it on the policies for the grandkids, along with some other, monies that we just kind of diverted and said, we don't have to do those particular activities as much as we were doing them before that can go on the grandkids, and so
Yep.
just a last thought, about, how do we replace that mindset for the longevity of the family? What is it that you would say to people, about replacing the mindset, and how can they begin to view things differently?
Yeah, I would say, look internally and figure out what do I do with the money I receive? What's the first thing I do with it? Because whether you make $100 a day or $100,000 a year, you need to figure out what is it you do with the money you receive. $100, do you save 10 and spend 90, or do you live on 10 and invest and save the 90? Right, that's been the biggest shift in our mindset, is figuring out where we put our money. That way we can create this nest egg, have that emergency fund, but also as a byproduct of everything we're creating, still have finances for the future and a legacy to pass down.
Awesome stuff, guys. You know what? Let's just thank David Garcia from Policies with a Purpose, for being on here today and talking to us. There's so much value in this. I mean, for those of us who have businesses, I see a whole different way of utilizing the policies because I'm like, okay, I can plan for some future use of, as I'm growing certain companies, or as I need to infuse things with capital and pay myself back, because this is a lot of times, this is what we go get the credit lines for, to be able to grow the company or to add a particular service or to do something else. So beside the fact that there's the family legacy, there's also ways of using it with business. And something we did not talk about today that hopefully we can talk about next week, I think that this will be really good, is looking at people who are, thinking about legacy, but of course, they may have multiple businesses now, and they may need to think about protecting themselves as the key person or protecting others as the key person. What can you do with a policy to make sure that your business does not suffer something catastrophic if one of the owners die? And so having key person insurance is going to be something really, really, really important. So I don't know if we can have David back. Maybe we can have a panel. I know Tony, you know a lot about the key man insurance, and we have a few other people that are Red members that, offer that service as well. And so I'd love to have you guys come and talk about, how do you protect your company from that type of risk? If something happened where I were not available, somebody's going to have to step up to the helm to run Red Worldwide. But in the meantime, while that's happening, what would it cost to replace me? What kind of salary would a person have to be paid to be able to, do what I do every day? And with that said, okay, how will we go about it? And so, these are some things that we might want to, begin to talk about, in one of our legacy sessions, because succession planning is really important. But just as much as succession planning is important, planning for the money for someone to be able to succeed is extremely important as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great. Thank you, David, and all of you who've been on the line. We look forward to getting more information. And David, can you please put in the chat how people can reach out to you, what it is that they can do to learn more about this. And we'll post it also on our YouTube page so that people are able to see what, they can do with their current policies, or, talk about a customized structure for themselves. This is really important. So if you can give us the opportunity to get on your calendar, tell us how that we can make that happen, it would be really, appreciated. Thank you again. This has been Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we see you again next time. I just want to make sure everybody can capture that information before we, jump off. There we go.